Evening, folks. Welcome back to The View. The intro catches me off guard because I know it actually finishes before it finishes. And every time I watch these back afterwards, there's a big long break between the intro finishing and this. But it's quite loud. But we're here tonight to talk about the next 6 games for Leeds. We'll talk about how the things have changed in the last couple of weeks as well. Leeds free scoring now all of a sudden and defensive masters and heading towards hopefully the promised land. But there are 6 games between now and the next international break, which might dictate where Leeds gets to and how quickly they can get there. I am delighted to be joined by Ben Locke from Locky Leeds, as well as Andrea Russo, now of Italian media fame, it should be pointed out as well. So I couldn't be happier to be joined by a better panel than the two guys that I've got with me. As Danny Talksport says, if you could smash a like on the video, that would be fantastic. We're heading towards 60,000 subscribers. A couple of likes on the video as well will help it get out to more people who don't normally see it. So that would be great. Appreciate that. Anyway, let's check in with the boys first, see how things are. And Ben, Locky, how are things? How are you?
Good, mate. Yeah, you can't be too terrible when Leeds are playing like they are every week, can you? Even if you have a rough few days, at the weekend you get to watch. Usually, anyway, beautiful football. So I'm good, mate. I'm good.
Good. Andrea, how are you, mate?
Well, on the sports side of things, I'm absolutely flying. It's the thing I like the most about Leeds recently is that they've broke the spark in an ice back. Honestly, like the good old times. On a personal note, I'm a person that cannot, apart from Pascal being back on the stream. On a personal note, I'm a person that I don't know how to lie. So yeah, it's not been recently a great period. To be fair, I had. I've been sick for a week last week and other things going on that it's been like a hectic period. But when you have to dance, you always have to keep rolling. So better times will come. You always have to keep the smile even when times are bad. And keep going on.
Absolutely. As they say, keep on keeping on. I'm not far off you, mate. I've gone back playing over 35s football my second week of training, and I can tell you for a fact I'm very sore and I'm very unfit. And one thing that surprised me more than anything else was the running part. And I wasn't doing a lot of it, but my lungs have been on fire for 2 weeks. So I'm hoping to walk out onto a football pitch at some point at the weekend. I'd be lucky if I get 2 minutes, but I'll see how it goes. But yeah, you got to keep on keeping on, Andrea. You got to keep on pushing forward, and we will. And Leeds, more importantly, right now are very, very much pushing on. Locky, phenomenal. We won't talk a huge amount about the last couple of games because we're more looking ahead. But just a little bit of a look back. Locky, I watched your review of the Watford game. Phenomenal, by the way. Excellent breakdown, tactical analysis of it as well. And Locky's channel is linked down below in the description for anyone who wants to check that out, so you can go and do that. But Locky, you made some really, really good points about Leeds' setup in the Watford game. And what I've been labeling as the patient press, which looks, for all intents and purposes, like Leeds aren't pressing until they are pressing, and it comes very quickly and out of nowhere. But it's been kind of a case of Leeds dictating how the opposition play out against us and making them play where we want them to play. But I wanted to get your more in-depth view of it.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of it is based on, especially for this game. I think it varies, but for this game, it's based on their midfield. Every second of that game, Tanaka was on one of their guys, and then you had either usually Gruev on Loza, and that basically, in its own, made pressing easier because the way out of their press, they play from midfield, then they look for Chetfatadze in the final third. We stopped all of it. We stopped that midfield bit, and they couldn't find him. How many times did he get the ball? I think last 10 minutes he came alive. But apart from that, the way in which we set up was just so good because having those two defensive players in there, which was criticised, allows the front four to press. And that's the key. And then the bit, like you said, it was patient because it wasn't, we'll press for the sake of it. We waited for a certain trigger. When we felt we could force them down one way, that's when we went and we did it really well. And we could have scored probably 2 or 3 goals from it. This is the thing with pressing, Joe. Sometimes it's on the players. You have a structure, you have an idea of how you want to press, whether that's the centre back or the full back, as long as everyone's on the same wavelength and they understand, and those two defensive midfielders are sticking on their men, you should get it right and there should be no way out. And that's what we did. And we've done it for the last few games now. How many times against Cardiff did we win the ball high up? Yeah. It's really good because, that's the thing with pressing. People assume it's this always high energy, high thing, but it isn't. It's about when we do it, can we get it? And when we did it great. The worry with Watford is last time we played them, they found so much spaces behind our midfield, so much. And we're a little too stretched. This time, we weren't stretched because the two midfielders stuck to their men excellently and the pressers got it spot on. And that's what we did. And then when we needed to, we sat deeper as well. When we didn't need to press, there was no space for them. Really good.
You could argue 2 of the goals definitely came from that press. One goal and one potential goal, which was the Dan James first one, which 100% comes from Leeds. Just, I suppose, Locky, letting them play in a certain area and letting them thinking that they're safe playing in that area, but they don't have a huge amount of options to go forward. And Leeds are kind of dictating where the space that they can play in is, and they forced them to play the ball into danger areas. And then that's when the triggers, as you mentioned, are there. And we see Dan James just absolutely open the legs, nick the ball, run through and goal, and a devastating finish as well. Where last week, I think the criticism of Dan James wasn't putting enough behind the ball. He was trying to dink it in the corner, but he wellied that one. And then just before half-time, there's the absolute afterburner central when he takes off, wins the ball off a header from one of the Watford players and tries to lob the keeper from the halfway line, which was, again, comes from the fact that Leeds have forced them into a dinked pass out of their back line, which, as anyone who's played the game and watches it enough will know, that's 2 touches. I've got to take control of it with my head first. Now the opponent has time to make the move and press that ball before it hits the ground. And that worked as well. So it's effective pressing. It's forcing them to play in the areas that we want them to play in. But it's not, as you say, Locky, that, 18-yard line, high press, 6 players on the edge of the 18-yard line. Yeah. These are kind of saying, no, come out. We want you to come out with the ball a little bit, but just a little bit, and then we'll hit you.
Yeah. And I think when we win it back deeper, we're a little more dangerous because that's when Dan James has space in behind then. If you win it very high, I think we can be a little wasteful, but when we win it around that midfield area, and you've got Dan James running behind, and then you've got Solomon there and then Ben Aronson, it's deadly. It is deadly. And that also gives Perot a chance to get involved in the combination play as well. So, yeah, I love it, Joe, to be honest. I love the way we're playing at the moment. I was speaking to Andrea in the chat yesterday, and when I say this, let me clarify, I don't mean the best team I've seen, but at this level, this team is probably the most balanced I've ever seen, in the sense that we could create with 2 or 3 passes, open chances, 2 or 3 passes, and we can defend for long periods without any shots against us. It's so well balanced. And it just, honestly, I'm absolutely loving watching them at the moment. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I think we said after the Burnley game, me and you were probably the only 2 people that were online that were saying, I quite enjoyed that game, but more from a tactical perspective than anything else. It wasn't an entertaining, engaging game. But Andrea, a man that's been mentioned in the chats here a couple of times is Ilya Gruev. And I just think he goes about his job with such a quiet composure, and he just gets it done. And again, in Locky's review, Locky points out one stage where Gruev does about 50 yards worth of flat off sprinting to get back in position to help his teammates out. But he goes about his job pretty quietly, but he's always there, intercepting passes, starting moves, and such a solid pair of hands in the middle of the park for Leeds.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he did a lot of, not just yesterday, but in recent times, when he returned from injury, is so crucial with the dirty work that he does, the obscure work that he does, because you can't see him because he doesn't catch the eye, because, in football, it is normal that, of course, people won't appreciate more, the players that dribble, the players that have the tackles, but I really like a player that plays like a bouncer, in front of the defense, because he's really like the first line of defense in front of the real defense, the back 4, but also the first wave of attack, because if he recovers the ball with one pass, he can create my favorite word, like they used to say recently, verticality.
There it is, yeah.
Absolutely. Verticality, with one pass, you just can bypass, the opposition midfield and give the ball to Aronson, or with the long ball to James or Solomon, you can instantly pass from a defensive shape to an offensive shape. So it was so vital. And I like what you said, the effective pressing. Effective pressing, I think, is the clear terminology. Also oriented pressing. Because we know we have a lot of awareness of when we need to not get out and press, and when we need to do that in order to wait for opportunities to arise for ball recoveries, and the first goal, of course, we forced that mistake. it was not their mistake. We forced that mistake. It feels like the pressing scored that goal, because you forced the back pass from the center back to the keeper, and of course, Dan James was there because we absolutely took advantage of the whole game, of the whole width of the pitch, and it was great to see. Gave me a great spark to see how we occupied the whole pitch of the ball yesterday. How the whole team moved from one side to the other. Always have multiple opportunities for a pass, and changing that, like I said, defensive shape to offensive place, offensive shape, like in a click, like that.
It was interesting as well, Andrea. There was, if you look at the statistics from the game, Watford had more possession than Leeds, which is a very much a rarity this season. But there's a confidence about Leeds off the ball as well as on the ball now, where even without the ball, everyone seems to really understand what their job is. There's very little gaps for creating. I think Watford maybe touched the ball 10 times or 8 times in Leeds' penalty area versus Leeds 20 odd times in their box, despite the fact that they had the bulk of the possession. So there is that quiet confidence and organization that you would, I suppose, expect from Daniel Farke's side now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think now we, like you said at the start of the podcast, I think like last season in the end after West Brom and Preston and West Brom, I think the team has changed again, and it's like a pattern with Farke. If you look at the Norwich sides too, there's like a change in the second part of the season, and I think it's also goes down to the physical preparation that they do, probably because it's like almost seeing again last season, when the team clicks physically in terms of fitness. And also looking at the way they play, they're so confident, so confident with the ball. It's a team with a lot of experience, and we're improving it on the pitch, honestly. And on the possession, like I always said, possession doesn't win you games. And as long as you have more opportunities than them, or you are more effective than them, and you score more goals than them, like Zdeněk Šeman, the Czech master. The Czech manager, very known here in Italy, used to say, we just need to score one more than them. It's what we need to do. So as long as we do that, I'm okay with that. I don't want the ball, because if you look at Watford, they had more possession, but the two great occasions they had, the two great chances they had with Shakvetadze, the crossbar when they hit the crossbar, and the other one when Melia saved the ball. Those two were individual initiatives, by those two players. The chances that we had were all created by a whole teamwork with passing in order to open spaces, and of course off the ball movement, without the ball movement, in order to sprint behind the defense from the two wingers. And that's another great thing for me, because games of football, I like more. I like a team more when he works off the ball in order to be in a position when they need to be when the ball gets to that specific player.
Yeah, it's nice to watch a game of football and be thinking to yourself, I wonder where the opposition will lose the ball in this move, because you're just watching the single players moving up and down and waiting on that moment where, it's been said in the chat here by Scooby that he agrees. I suppose we did force them into playing, but let's have it right. It was their centre half who plays the ball in. Their centre half doesn't play that ball at all if Leeds don't press in that manner. So it's highly effective, and it is very much pulling of the strings. You don't necessarily see it, but it's when it happens, you can go back and look and go, well, that's exactly what they were, creating the trap in order to spring it. But as you were saying there, it's not just about possession, Andrea, and I've always said this when I was coaching, it's about possession with purpose. It's not having the ball for the sake of having the ball. It's the sake of having the ball, waiting for those opportunities and those moments where gaps open to then hit teams, and be okay with that until knowing that those moments will happen. And movement off the ball is really important. And that, I thought Leeds yesterday were just smooth as hell around the park, and movement off the ball was excellent as well. But one thing that wasn't so smooth, Locky, in a really dodgy segue there, Daniel Farke's comments after the game were positive, but very direct and asking for more from certain players. And there's been a bit of a tone shift, and I mentioned it in the news today, but for me, there's been a very specific tone change from Daniel Farke being protective of the squad, not talking about anything else, just, very much a case of, even if we lose, it's okay, it's fine, we're grand, we're still learning, we're still gelling, all that stuff, to yesterday being a very clear change to, I want more. And that was the one that came out of it. Joel Piroux talked an awful lot about Pirro, but then said his goal tally is not where I want it to be. I want him to have 20 goals this season. He's very much on his way towards 20 goals. So it's kind of a roundabout criticism, knowing full well he only needs 6 more goals to hit that total. But also Ao Tanaka wants more goals for midfield, despite the fact that Ao Tanaka has 2 goals, 2 assists, which is 2 goals and 2 assists more than any of our midfielders managed last season during the regular campaign. But for me, and I'd love your thoughts on this, it just feels like Farke is now focusing the players on the job on hand, because unlike last year, we're not chasing anymore. So it's a very different type of pressure Leeds have this year. It's not catching up anymore. It's staying there. So now he has to avoid complacency and a little bit of arrogance seeping in there and keep these players focused. But I'd love your thoughts on his tonal change.
Yeah, I love stuff like this. It's proper interesting as to what these people are thinking. I think, first of all, you look at last year. Maybe he's reflecting on last year. Maybe he was a little too nice to the players later on in the season. Maybe a little too you're all good, you're all right, you're all young lads. I think this year, look, we've got to remember this guy's won this league twice. He knows how to get out of it. He has a very high standard, and I think he's making sure that they don't slip even 1%. Because he knows, and we all know, the last games now are going to be harder. It's going to be more pressure, more nerves. So he's almost preparing them for that fact. He's telling them, don't stop now. It's going to be harder than that. The next 2 games are going to be very difficult. So you've got to keep them standards high. And he's saying to Tanaka, look, can you score more? We might need that in the last few weeks. All the players might not play well. It happens. Form happens. We need you. Joe Pirro, you are our number 9 now. He's telling him, you are our number 9. You're the main one. We need you to keep doing what you're doing. Don't do your little tricks and your beautiful finishes for this game. Do it for the other ones as well, Don't be complacent, because it does happen, and we saw it last year. Some of it was unbelievable until the last few games of the season where he slipped off of his numbers, Same with Rutter, many players, even Pirro, for example. He doesn't want that again. And he knows they won't take it per se. They're not going to go, Pirro's not going to look at that and go, oh, he's been mean to me. No, he knows what he wants. And I think that's the key. He's doing it to players he knows will step up to that, and he thinks he can do that too. There's certain players that are low on confidence, for example, who you won't do that to. You'll protect them. But those guys are clearly high on confidence. They're playing like they are. And he's really making sure they know this is going to be tough, and we've got a good opportunity here. So I love it, Joe, personally. I love stuff like this.
Yeah, same. It was a balance that I struggled with as a player, but I understood more when I was a coach and a manager of understanding who in the dressing room needs a kick up the arse to be motivated and who in the dressing room needs an arm around the shoulder to be motivated. And they're very, very different. One approach can motivate a striker to go off and score 10 goals in a couple of games. Same approach to another player can devastate them and ruin their season completely. So it's about balance. Donna making a very good point here. Let's face it, it's a massive leap up next year if all goes to plan. No harm in looking for more now. See if they can secure their place in the lineup. It's a very valid point, I think, and I've said for the last couple of weeks, I think this squad is a good enough squad for the Premier League in terms of being squad players, but it definitely needs some high-end Premier League additions around the starting 11 in order for them, just because that gap is so big. So, no harm in putting a little bit of pressure on them right now. I am going to just take a pause for a second before we go to talk about the next 6 games and just throw up on screen, because it has been mentioned, we do have a merch store. We don't have a sponsor here on the channel, but we do have a merch store. So if you would like to support the channel, there's a link in the description down below. That's my affiliate link, and anything bought on the Back 4 clothing range using that link, I get a kickback to, and helps me and helps support this channel. We're looking at some pretty big changes to the channel, hopefully for next year, intros, graphics, everything else. So looking to try and help that to be funded as well. So you can check that out down below if you want. There's some cracking stuff there, not just my channel merch, but stuff from Tanaka, Rothwell, Leeds, all up, general stuff there as well, and some new stuff coming soon. So I wanted to just throw that at you. Right, that's enough of that talk. Let's talk about the season so far, and we'll throw some more stuff up on screen and get the guys' opinion before we get to the next 6. As it stands right now, lads, Andrea sitting pretty top of the pile, 69 points from 32 games, only lost 3 matches in the entire season. It's a hell of a number for Leeds putting up on the board. I suppose, Andrea, considering how slow the season started for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we are where we need to be. And if you look at the squad right now, also the things that you were saying, and on that specific topic, I think it's good also to stir up a little bit of competition for places. And it's also sad, I think from Farke, in order to try to keep everyone in line. So If you look at our records, we're looking at our record before we went live, again. And if you see all the green in that, calendar of fixtures and just the 3 reds, it's unbelievable, honestly. It's unbelievable. Also because, there were games where we had problems. So we were a work in progress, but we were we kept winning games, even if we had certain things in our style of football that needed to be mastered, needed to be, sharpened. But right now, it seems like we are looking at the finished product, in terms of how we need to play football, how we need to attack games. Also in terms of mentality, because we need to be more angry for more every time, because last season, I think there was a little bit of complacency. And I totally agree when you said last season we were chasing. Right now we are the chased ones, the ones being chased. So it's a different mentality, because this time you're not the pack trying to get to the herd of sheep, you're not the wolves trying to get to the sheep, but you are the sheep being hunted, by the wolves. And we have so much quality, so much talent, and they know they have that talent, because if you look at the way they play right now, also yesterday, for example, you see that they are a team that knows its value, even on the pitch, and by the calmness, the confidence they have when they play the ball. They even in risky situations, you can sense the calmness they have. But it's good also to not being overwhelmed or get too complacent with that sense, because last season when we had that run, there were some games after, especially the international break, when we were not our usual selves. So there's still place for more improvement, and it's not done yet. But I like what Farke did yesterday, for example, getting everyone together for the final, the usual celebration, with the away end. Also the way the club have treated it, with the march continues, we march on, because we're all part of it, and the whole squad needs to be part of it, because we saw against Millwall that certain players starting, they weren't up for it in terms of efficiency. They still need to play a part this season, so it's good that he steers up competition with the ones that broke Leeds, starting week in and week out, to that place that we see right now in that table. But it's good that he's also sending a message: you need to keep performing, because it's not done yet. Otherwise, if you don't perform, someone else might get the opportunity. They didn't take advantage of the opportunity against Millwall, to show what they can do from the start, certain players, but we still need them for the rest of the season, and they still need to be online and try to push for a spot, because it's good competition, it's healthy competition, and we need to have the whole squad on the same frequencies, the same radio frequencies. Yeah,
I agree. Locky, home and away record. The away record was, as Andrea has already pointed out, we had some tricky enough games this year. It hasn't been squeaky clean all year. The away record, comparative to our promotion rivals, wasn't the best and needed a bit of work. But as you can see, over the last 5 away games, 3 wins and 2 draws, no defeats in there at all. Haven't lost since November. And the home record is just, again, it's phenomenal this year. And I've been saying all year, Leeds will lose more games, but has been said by a couple of people in the chat, I'm trying to find the right comments, is I don't think Leeds get beat for the rest of the season. I think they will lose some games, but I'm starting to think that less and less, Locky.
Yeah. I don't think we'll go all season with 3 losses, personally. Could be wrong, but I just don't. And it is what it is, like this football. Yeah, the last, how many games is it now? What, 14, 15? Whatever it is.
15, I think, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be so tough. I mean, we might not make it look tough. We might win 3 or 4-0 every now and again. But mentally and what's at stake just makes it tough for any person, any individual. You are so close to the end and you are top of the tree and you're relatively comfortable, you can become complacent. So that away form is so important right now. And the biggest contrast in how we've done away is the way we played against Watford yesterday. You wouldn't think that we're an away game. We were unbelievable. We were so good. It was very similar to a home game, maybe slightly less possession, but it worked so well. And you look at the Watford we played near the start of the season, how different we are now and how better of a team we looked. That's the same side they've got, maybe stronger. We just look really, really good home and away. And I think that's because there's a real identity in the team now. And they all fully understand their roles. But like I said, and I'm going to keep saying this because I am honestly, I'm so happy to watching Leeds. I love it. But I'm always nervous because teams step up. You're top of the league now, and it's getting to the end of it. And you've got people like Sheffield United and Sunderland, for example, who want to finish in that top 2, who are coming to Ellen Road, decent form. It's going to be tough. I just hope these players can step up to it. And I believe they will, but they've got to, because it'll be tough.
You know why it felt like a home game yesterday? Because there were more Leeds fans than Watford fans in this time.
Absolutely.
Crazy, man, wasn't it? They were sounding so good, by the way, didn't they? They sounded excellent, did the fans?
Yeah.
Away Sport were phenomenal, but they always are phenomenal. But they were absolutely amazing last night. So because I'm trying to keep up with the comments. There's a lot of stuff coming through, and I don't want to put comments over people's faces when we're doing the side stuff. So we will get to them. A couple of starred ones just to hang on to pretty quickly. The only thing that can stop Leeds getting promoted is Leeds. I think we've said that all season as well. Wall Brown, interesting to hear Farke criticising key players. First time I can recall him doing so, wants to avoid any complacency. I think that's nailed in the head. Massive thanks for the super chat from Chris Watkinson. Even Jared, nice to see the squad gelling and playing well at the right time. Same as last year, funnily enough. We'll get to that in a second. Wayne, thoughts on Amadou since he's been at the back, some mixed performances? Yeah, I'd agree. I'm not a massive fan of it. I would rather see Stroke there, if I'm being honest. But he's doing fine right now, and that's all that matters. Do you want your merch signed? It'll go down in value, but you're welcome to it. And Anthony saying we are 13 points ahead of Bielsa's promotion winning side at this stage of the season, which is phenomenal. But we can always lead it, so let's not get too confident too early. But let's move on and have a quick chat about the next 6 games coming up. Fancy graphics alert on screen. So in this one as well, we've also put the results of the previous games down as well. But I mean, someone said it earlier on today. I saw a tweet that said if Leeds win, then 7 more wins will see Leeds hit last season's total amount of points and ultimately which should promote the club back to the Premier League. So 7 out of 14, we could be done before the season's over. But these 6 could be massive, Locky, in terms of where the season goes. Especially considering these are the 6 before the next international break, which is the March one, and that's where the wheels fell off last year, and arguably fell off also during the relegation season from the Premier League. But at this point last season, the 6 games before the international break, Leeds won 5 and drew 1 of them. So we're coming into this in pretty much the exact same run and form as we did last season. But Locky, look at these coming up. The first 2 are going to be the big ones in terms of their direct promotion rivals in Sheffield United and Sunderland. But you could argue now Leeds don't need to win those games. Just don't lose them. And then the other games become even more important then.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I want 2 wins from them. I really do. The reason that, in a weird way, I want the gap to stay as big as it is, because if it gets a bit closer, then everyone gets a little more nervous. And I don't know if I can deal with that personally. You know what I mean? That's too nervy for me. Look, Ellen Road, I want to win. We need to beat Sunderland at home. I think that's huge. I do. Because even if you get a draw, for example, and say that weekend Sheffield United win and Burnley win, they are closer. They're 2 points closer. And then you're going into Sheffield United, which could easily be on the back of it, 2 games without a win. You know what I mean? So that game at Ellen Road is massive against Sunderland. That's a statement. It really is. That's got to be a statement, that one. And then if you get the win at Ellen Road against Sunderland, then you can probably be all right with a point at Bramall Lane. Very happy with a point, of course you would. But then, of course, after that, then for me, it's got to be 4 wins. I know that sounds really kind of over the top. I genuinely think, we are capable of it. And you are right. After that international break, you don't know if people come back fit. There could be injuries. Just secure yourself. You were on great form. We're playing so well. Don't jeopardize it. There's some good teams there. Look, Portsmouth got some good results this season, especially against us and some other big sides. Millwall, we never do well. We lost to them like the other day at Ellen Road.
Yeah.
QPR play some decent stuff. Tony Mowbray back at West Brom, good manager. I like him a lot. Yeah, they'll come and play. So it's gonna be good. But again, it's them first 2 for me, Joe. I think if we can get through them first 2 with a win at Ellen Road and a win or a draw at Sheffield United, I honestly expect 4 wins from after that, I think.
Yeah, and Andre, at that point, you've got to start thinking it's pretty much there, really, at that point, because there's only what, 5-6 games after that again after that before the season's completely over. Everyone's saying it, 11 points, 12 points will be enough to get us up. But yeah, I'd love your thoughts on the next 6 as well, Andre, and how big the next 2 are for you.
They're massive. Honestly, they're massive because after those 6, we have the goals from not last Christmas, but last season coming back, and it's really haunting us the international break, because if you like last season, we were flying, then the international break arrived, and working with a limited number of players during that 2 weeks, at top patch, because they are away with the international teams, the national teams. It almost kind of stopped us, because we had those injuries. The Welsh players came back after they missed out on penalties, the qualification to Euro 2024. So they were really down, Dan James missed that penalty.
Yeah.
So honestly, if the points in those 6, the next 6 are absolutely massive. And honestly, I think it should be 9, but looking at how these teams are, because I think we pair pretty well against Sunderland. If it wasn't for that unfortunate mistake from Melia, we won that game. We would have won that game at the Stadium of Light, so we were better than them, absolutely. And they are a young side. Of course, they had some experience, but also young players, and they're not veterans. They have Lefebvre, they have Samed, the players that played in the. Yeah, Isidore, absolutely great player. I know Locky likes him a lot too.
Yeah. A big impact, Andrea, already. He's got 2 assists in his first 2 games already, so he's making an impact. Yeah, absolutely. He's both of them, both Isidore and Lefebvre are good players. Also good English players. Rig, Neil, Onayan. I still haven't figured out how the correct pronunciation is. He upsets me every time I watch him playing, though. But yeah, he's a good player for the level. Yeah. Yeah, I like him, honestly. Also, I remember when he was in the documentary on Netflix for the second season, in Until I Die. Yeah, but I think if we get past, like Locky said, these 2, I think a win against Sunderland and maybe a similar kind of game like the one against Burnley, at Bramall Lane against Sheffield United, because of course they will get at us. And we saw, like yesterday, or also last season at Millwall, that we are very good on the counter in certain games. If we have the 2 defensive midfielders, and I know we have Klastanak like a defensive midfielder too, but he is a proper 8 for me. That is a defensive 8 when he's defending and an attacking 8 when he's attacking. So he's the complete package. So if we get past those 2, like with 4 points, I think it will give us a massive boost. West Brom, we struggle against them, because they usually play the low block against us. Remember last season when I think it was 1-1 at Elland Road, honestly. We struggle a bit against them, because they're always a physical side. They always try to make that count during the game. But I think we can get the better out of them at Elland Road. Honestly, we can get past them easily if we did yesterday against Watford, because Watford too had physical players like Musa Sissoko, for example. Yeah. So the 2 games, honestly, that I feel the most away, I'm not much concerned against regarding the game at Bramall Lane, because I know that we show that we can be camaleontic at Turf Moor. I'm more concerned about the 2 games at Frampton Park and Loftus Road. Last season, I loved to Road. We get absolutely battered, because we were too complacent. We were not focused. Absolutely. We didn't turn up. I love Loftus Road 4-0, I think. Anderson absolutely tore us apart that night, the number 10. And Frampton Park is always a difficult place to go, honestly, because Portsmouth, Pompey, they are like a different team, when they play there, because it's a very lousy, noisy ground, So those 2. And Millwall, I think we get our revenge against Millwall. So if it was for me, honestly, I would say win against Sunderland, draw at Bramall Lane, win. I think it can be a loss, honestly, at Frampton Park. 2 wins, Millwall and QPR. I think we have learned a lesson from last season against QPR. Yeah, hopefully, yeah. Yeah, everyone's worried about the QPR game, and I get that as well. So it's the banana skins, isn't it? It's the ones that you look at and go, I'd be more upset if we lost those games, because I think if you lose to Sheffield United, you kind of go, well, your promotion rivals, they've invested heavily in January. We beat them away. They beat us away. Sorry, the way around. We beat them at home. They beat us at home. And you can kind of go, yeah, fine. But losing to Portsmouth and losing to QPR, especially after last season's QPR game, I think we owe them one lucky as well. But I do want to ask about one piece coming into this and what's important for this international break, Locky. We will have played all of our promotion rivals before this international break, which is a very different scenario to last year where we had games after that international break with promotion rivals, Southampton being a key one that we had to look at. So there could be less pressure in terms of the caliber of the fixture we've got after the international break, more kind of a pressure of having to go and win them, but less pressure in that situation and less likelihood that a defeat or a points dropped at that point will directly benefit a rival.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the key point of these next six, isn't it? These are the ones here. These are the big ones. And in a way, without being complacent, obviously, based on the form and the way we're playing in the league right now, if you can go full out and get as much points from these six, it is a little, you can afford a tiny slip up in the last 3 or 4 games. You know what I mean? As opposed to last season where we literally couldn't afford a single one. And we had 3 or 4 games where we did slip up and then that was it. This year, if we get it done here in this period, obviously you don't want your teams to do it, but it might happen. And it kind of eases that a little bit. Kind of like Leicester did. They were so clear with Leicester. They had a little slip up, but it was still enough and they found the way back out of it. So, yeah, it's weird how nervous we all are bothered about an international break. That's us, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Our entire season could depend on an international break. It's so scary.
It's mad because I love the international break actually because we play Germany, But I'm one of the few people, that really love you when the national team is playing. But on the other hand, after last season, my main concern in the international break, apart from March because we play Germany, of course, so I really want us to beat them, my main concern is don't get injured, lads, please, because we have players with international in intercontinental flights, like Farke with the Dominican Republic, Tanaka, Aronson, then you have almost the whole squad, like the starters, you have Ampadu, Rodon, James, Darlow too, going with Wales. Then you have Joseph with the under-21s, Yonto with the under-21s, Solomon with Israel, of course.
Japan, Gruev.
Tanaka in Japan, Gruev. Almost the whole team.
Yeah, almost the whole team, yeah.
We should do what Ipswich did last year. For some reason, in this international break last year, 3 or 4 of their players suddenly didn't go. One of them.
Good.
We might need to do that. Just have a little conversation.
But you know what?
No, I'm joking.
I had a big problem at the end of last season with Leeds approach internationals, and I have a similar feeling about the first half of this season's internationals where I'm like, why are we always the best kid in class? Why do we always nod and smile and agree with everybody and let them take the players? Because Wales are playing Kazakhstan in one of their games coming up right in that break. You're not going, lads. You're not going to play a silly game against Kazakhstan that doesn't really mean anything, and they can probably do without you, and then come back and derail our season. And you're going to miss out on promotion again. Leeds need to be smarter. Like if a couple of little hamstring strains would be nice around that time, or a little bit of a groin issue, but nothing major. I want to hear Farke say we've got a couple of players with niggles and issues. That's the language.
With a little smirk on his
face. Just a little winky eye to Popey in the corner going, yeah, we're good. That's what I want to see. But Andrea, as I said to Locky, we'll have our promotion rivals out of the way come this international break. And after that, then it's clear running through games we should be winning. And at that point, if the results go our way here, and there's no guarantee that they will, but if they do, it's an open goal to be tapped in, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well. And I want behind the scenes that I want them to start talking about, let's get that championship, that trophy. And let's start to aim for records, because I think
100 points.
Exactly. It can motivate them, honestly, because like you said, last season Leicester had 1 or 2 bad results, and we were back in the mix, after that game, so we still need to think game by game and get the 3 points, not look so far, but it needs to be talked behind the scenes that we can. This team is good enough to break that record, honestly, and to get that trophy, that championship, absolutely. So it's and even more after you have faced all your rivals, because after that it's important to keep, like Farke said yesterday, with trying to tickle a little bit certain players. It's important that we don't look at those sides, easily, because there will be sides struggling and fighting to avoid relegations. There will be sides that will be in the fight to get a spot in the playoffs, and it's not over. So after that, it's even more we need to be focused, because like Locky said, everyone wants to beat the league leaders. We need to be aware of that, and we need to, like we did yesterday and in recent games against Cardiff with that thrashing, we need to still defend our top spot and prove why we are our top spot. Yeah.
I completely agree. We're going to wrap it up there because I'm watching the time, and if it goes 4 more minutes, I won't be able to put the audio upload, so we'll have to wrap this up pretty quick. Locky, anything going over at your channel this week? Do you want to give it a bit of a plug?
I've just done my tactical thing now. I'm thinking of doing a Pacific player one, but I'm not sure which one. But there will hopefully be a player video up in a few days.
Andrea, what's going on with you this week? Where can we find you?
I'm on here, absolutely on Twitter, absolutely on socials. I meant, and by the way, I wanted to say this at the start. Thanks for the invitation, Joe. It's always a pleasure to talk with you lads. Absolutely, with about football, because it's great because we interchange. Even when we differ opinions, it's good to have different opinions, because sometimes I have my opinion, and listening to yours, I might say, oh, maybe there's also that side that I need to look into. But yeah, absolutely, I'll be watching as always, But on the Italian sides, there's my team, Reggiana, of course, on the other side. Luckily, we didn't have recently a TV show. Because we alternate between the younglings, the young guard and the old guard, So we had the old guard, recently. The team is not doing well, so they didn't acquire a number 9, so Reggiana, so they'll be fighting till the end of the season to avoid relegation, absolutely, to avoid the play out, because there's also the play outs apart from the playoffs, where there's like a relegation playoff where you need to.
We have that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So following sports as always.
We can find Andrea over on Twitter, X,
everywhere,
whatever you want to call it this week. But you can, well, as long as it's still there for now anyway. But you can check that out if you want to. Details are down below for everybody. Merch store details are down below. If you haven't tickled the like button, please do on your way out. And I'll be back tomorrow morning for your Leeds news. Thanks to the guys for dropping in. I'll talk to you soon. See you.